going to tell you a big problem with the bridge collapse narrative, especially on the left. Whenever things like this happen that are shocking and seemingly unexplainable in the beginning, like how could this happen, blah, 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 there's going to be people that are going to come up with conspiracies in terms of what might have happened. For example, a cyber attack or some kind of terrorism or whatever it is. Now, a lot of people will rightfully dismiss the crazy conspiracy theories that are not based on any actual evidence. They're just simply like, it seems strange, and then they try to fill in the blank. And they just be dismissed as kooks, tinfoil hat, whatever. There's a problem with that, however. It's valid that you're dismissing these people, but there's a problem with that mindset where you just completely block it all off and you just dismiss anyone that's saying anything like that. Now, it's good to point out, coming up with these theories without any evidence and running with them is ridiculous and irresponsible, especially if you have a large audience. That's good to point that out. However, the reality is, again, when these things happen, people come up with different theories, and, there are potential that some of their wild, random guesses could actually end up being true, right? A broken clock is right, twice a day, right? So here's the potential scenario. These guys go and come up with this ridiculous idea that it's a cyber attack. Ridiculous because there's no evidence to support that, and it's just like coming out of thin air, right? And then after investigating, we found out it actually is a cyber attack. Now, because of people being in a bubble and just kind of dismissing all alternative narratives, not just simply pointing out that you shouldn't do this without evidence, you should wait for the evidence to come out, but just completely, you don't hear any conversation about any other theory, you're not paying attention to what they're saying at all, not looking into any of them that might actually have some evidence behind them. It's just completely, this group of people is crazy, let's just completely ignore them. But then when they get lucky, as they do sometimes, and it turns out like it is a cyber attack, you're going to help to boost them up, boost up the credibility of, some of the most ridiculous and dishonest people, right? They're going to say, see, we told you, and they were trying to hide us and telling us that we're conspiracy theorists, and it actually was a cyber attack. Again, if, let's just say a random building blows up, right, and initial evidence points to a gas leak, right? These same people can look at that and say, oh, it's probably a terrorist attack, and then you can find all kind of connections. You search the area, and you find any building that is remotely conservative or GOP or something, like, right down the street from there is Trump's son's apartment. We think the Democrats are trying to kill his children or trying to send a message or whatever, right? And then, because there's no evidence, we dismiss it like, ridiculous. It was a gas leak. It was a gas leak. And then they investigate further and find out that no, there was actually something going on where, somebody set up an explosive, or somehow it wasn't just an accident. Somebody intentionally did it. Now, whatever they were wrong about, because they're like just making stuff up, they'll drop a lot of that and then change their story such that they were right all along. We're right all along. We told you it wasn't this and that. Even if it turns out that the person who did it intentionally is a disgruntled employee, right? So it's not an accident. Somebody actually did it intentionally, but that person is a disgruntled employee. It has nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with Donald Trump's son. They will ignore all of that and just say, oh, that's the cover story. No, we were right the whole time, right? We told you it was a thing, and they tried to say a gas leak, and it wasn't a gas leak. Mainstream media talking about we're giving misinformation. They were giving misinformation. They said it was a gas leak, and it was not a gas leak. That was misinformation. We were the ones telling the truth, right? And we're going to modify our truth such that we can continue to claim that we're the ones telling the truth while everyone else is lying, right? So whenever we have crazy theories in the beginning, we'll just sarcastically say, I know they're going to call me a conspiracy theorist for saying this, but I really think that such and such. I think the same kind of thing happened with the lab leak, right? And a lot of people on the left did the same thing. You accurately recognize a bunch of kooks that were saying a bunch of kooky things without evidence, following a bunch of kooky people. But then you got so obsessed with that you just completely shut off your thinking and ignored any evidence that was supportive of what they were saying, because clearly what they're saying is wrong. We don't know all the details about this, why the ship hit the bridge. There's no reason to be pushing the idea that it was a cyber attack without any evidence. But I think you should be open to that possibility, right? And that's the point that I'm making. Don't close your mind off just because ridiculous people are saying things that are ridiculous in the context of not having any evidence, right? It's only ridiculous because there's no evidence. But evidence can come in the future, which would make what they're saying no longer ridiculous, right? What they were saying at the time was ridiculous. They were ridiculous for saying it. But it can just so happen that they can get lucky and their nonsense aligns with reality. They're, of course, not going to ever acknowledge that they were saying nonsense. They're going to just be like, we were right all along. They were saying stuff without evidence, right? They were just pulling stuff out of their asses, right? But if it aligns with the truth in the future, they will not recognize or acknowledge the fact that they just got lucky. They're going to be like, we knew based on what? What was the evidence? How did you know, right? So I don't think it was a terrorist attack. I don't think it was a cyber attack. But I'm open to the possibility that it could have been. Other countries try to attack us all the time. There have been many, many cyber attacks. We're going into the future of cyber warfare. So the idea that this could have been a test run or something like that would not be that strange. However, without evidence, the idea of promoting it is absurd, ridiculous, irresponsible. And it's a difference between a valid, conspiracy based on reality and logic and critical thinking versus a crazy conspiracy theory that's just pulled out of nowhere and just kind of, and then Trump and the Biden and the pedophile. Yeah. And of course, all the crazy stuff that they said that they were wrong about, and this is the dishonesty, right? Don't acknowledge all the wrongs. Just like those prophets, right? I don't think it's prophets the word I want to use, but those people who say like, Jesus is coming back a certain date or something, and then he doesn't come back, and then they have a new date and a new date and a new date. You know who did that? Wasn't the pillow guy doing that kind of stuff? Trump's gonna be back in office, such and such this date. They're gonna flip the election back, whatever. And then that date come and pass, and it's a new date, and it's a new date, and then you have these idiots that never get to the point like you were wrong like 3 times in a row. No, they just keep listening to the guy, right? And then if any of these wild guesses end up being right, yeah, see, and I told me I'm a conspiracy. We are a dishonest group of people in this country, United States of America. A lot of it's being driven by these influencers that are making millions of dollars playing their games, but integrity. What even is that? This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.